We live in an age of constant motion. Scroll, click, rush, repeat. The faster we move, the more it feels as if we are falling behind. We chase attention, approval, opportunity, as though our worth will solidify the moment the world notices us. But the Stoics invite us to a different stance: stillness, alignment, construction. They teach us not to chase, but to build, not to perform, but to become. What if, instead of grasping for what slips away, you chose to build a foundation so steady that the world could not ignore it? Not because you demanded attention, but because you became undeniable? That is the Stoic way. This is not a race. It is a map, a quiet call to build patiently and privately. Each chapter is a stone for your foundation. Layer by layer, truth by truth, we shape a life that does not sway with the winds of approval. Chapter 1. The Quiet Rebellion Against Chasing. To chase is to hand your power away. When your focus is fixed on recognition, reaction, and result, you live by impulse, not intention. The Stoics saw the traps of the world: compliments, gold, titles, power, and they warned against taking the bait. Seneca wrote, "If you wish to be loved, love." This is the reversal. Do not chase affection, generate it. Do not seek praise, do praiseworthy things. The moment you root your energy in being rather than wanting, you reclaim your sovereignty. Think of how much energy is lost trying to impress, not only in grand efforts but in the quiet daily adjustments: how you speak, how you dress, how you hold back opinions. Think of the weight of trying to be liked, accepted, seen a certain way. It is not only exhausting, it is costly. Every ounce of energy spent performing is energy withheld from building something real. Consider the hours poured into curating an image, into polishing a version of yourself for others to admire. What could have been created with that same energy if it had been given to depth rather than appearance? Now ask yourself, who would you be if no one were watching? If there were no applause to earn, no gaze to meet, what would remain? That answer reveals your foundation or its absence. Chasing is a silent contract with the world. I will mold myself to your desires, if only you will validate me. It is an unspoken surrender that places your identity into the hands of others. You become reactive, shifting with their judgments, their praise, their silence. But the Stoic breaks that contract quietly. He enters the arena not to perform but to stand, not to adapt, but to embody. His principles are not decoration, they are his shield. Chasing looks like ambition, but often it is only restlessness in disguise, a kind of agitation masked as drive, and restlessness does not build. It never lays a steady brick. It begins, but rarely completes. It promises significance but leaves only exhaustion. Building asks for something different. It asks for pause, reflection, and discernment. You stop asking, "What will they think of me?" and begin asking, "What am I becoming?" To build is to exchange the fleeting thrill of validation for the quiet strength of growth. It is not quick, it is not glamorous, but it is freeing. Free from the hunger for attention, free from the fear of irrelevance, free from the endless effort to appear enough in someone else's eyes. Building is a quiet return to your own standards, your own path, your own meaning, without needing permission from the world. It is a turning inward, where depth replaces drama and substance replaces spectacle. The builder chooses consistency over applause. They are not carried by sudden bursts of energy sparked by admiration. They find their rhythm, steady and anchored. They understand the world may not see what they are creating until much later, and even then, recognition is not the point. What matters most is the foundation within: integrity, discipline, courage, qualities no one can give or take away. This kind of building is not about being noticed, but about becoming unshakable, not about catching eyes, but about holding ground. While others chase relevance, the builder cultivates resilience. While others strive to impress, the builder strives to endure. Because the builder knows recognition fades, but the strength gained through patient creation remains. Significance is not discovered in chasing what passes. It is formed slowly, brick by brick, day by day, even in solitude. And that steadiness grows into its own quiet power, one that does not need to shout, because it cannot be moved. Each morning, write down one thing you aim to build that day: a trait, a discipline, a skill. Let it be simple, intentional, and meaningful to the person you are becoming. Carry it as your compass, guiding your choices, your responses, your focus. At night, reflect. What did you chase? Validation, comparison, the illusion of urgency disguised as purpose. Write it without judgment. Simply notice. Notice the difference between the days you built quietly and the days you chased shadows. Pay attention to how it feels. The quiet building days settle into you like bricks setting into place, not heavy, but solid. Over time, a different kind of momentum emerges, not rushed, not restless, steady, enduring. One that is slow, deliberate, and deeply rooted. One that does not demand to be seen, yet quietly shapes who you are becoming. Chapter 2. The Architecture of Character. The Stoics believed that character is fate, not status, not wealth, not fortune. Character, who you are, becomes the path you walk, and character is not something you stumble upon. It is something you construct. It is not waiting in the distance as a discovery. It waits here as a creation, asking you to begin. Day by day, choice by choice, you are the craftsman of your future, whether you act with awareness or drift without it. Word by word, decision by decision, you are laying down the pattern of your life. Each action either strengthens your foundation or weakens it. When the Stoics ask, "What kind of person are you becoming?" they are not asking about your dreams, your ambitions, or your image. They are asking, what kind of internal structure are you building through your behavior? Is it durable, or is it decorative? Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, but you would not know it from his private writings. He spoke to himself not as a ruler, but as a servant of reason. Just that you do the right thing. The rest does not matter. That was his blueprint. In the pages of Meditations, there is no special treatment for power, no excuses for title, only the daily effort to live by principle, to shape a soul aligned with virtue. Character is the structure you retreat to when storms arrive. The stronger the build, the less you need from the outside. You stop reaching for reassurance. You stop fearing outcomes. You bend, but you do not break, because what you have built within is stronger than what shifts around you. The world measures success in spotlight. The Stoic measures it in structure. How steady are your virtues when no one is watching? How stable is your integrity when there is no applause? Are your values situational, or are they structural? These are the questions that reveal the true architecture of your soul. For when the stage is gone, and the mirror is honest, do you still stand tall, or do you crumble beneath your own contradictions? To the Stoic, that answer is everything. It is the line between a life built with care and one thrown together in reaction. If character is weak, Everything else collapses under pressure. Goals fade, relationships falter, peace vanishes. But if character is sound, it becomes the pillar that carries the weight of life without strain. Discipline, resilience, clarity in chaos, all rest upon this foundation. When character is your cornerstone, you do not scramble when adversity strikes. You return to the structure already built, the principles already practiced. And that gives you something rare in this restless world: stability. The Stoic does not build life on external validation. They build it on internal truth. That is why this foundation matters more than anything else, because when the noise fades, when the rewards slow, when the spotlight disappears, all that remains is what you have built. If it is solid, it will carry you. If it is hollow, it will collapse beneath you. Design your virtue blueprint. Choose 3 traits that define the person you aspire to become, not as decoration, but as cornerstones. Perhaps courage, humility, self-control. Perhaps integrity, patience, or discipline. The choice is yours. Select the virtues that meet you where you are, that answer your present challenges, and point you toward your future vision. Write them down. Define each in your own words so that they are not abstract ideas, but living standards. Each week, take one trait as your guide. Let it shape your decisions, your reactions, your inner dialogue. When discomfort arises, ask, what would this virtue look like here? Write down the moments when you lived it well and the moments when you fell short. Both matter. The struggles give your blueprint its dimension. At the end of the week, reflect. What strengthened your connection to this value? What weakened it? Notice the patterns, environments, people, even moods that either anchor you or pull you away. Adjust your design as needed. You are the architect, and this is a living structure. Layer by layer, you are not just imagining character. You are constructing it. Chapter 3. Energy as currency. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Spend it wisely, and you build clarity. Scatter it, and you chase shadows. When you direct your focus with intention, life begins to change. You no longer drift from one distraction to the next. You begin to carve a path. Stoicism reminds us of something radical. Your energy belongs to you. No one can take it unless you hand it over. And yet each day, we give it away carelessly. To endless scrolling, to arguments for approval, to overthinking yesterday's conversations. Every one of these is a withdrawal from your account of clarity. Every loop of worry, every drama replayed in your mind, drains energy that could have been invested in building something real. The cost is quiet, but steep. Epictetus taught, it is not the event itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. Most of our leaks are not caused by life itself, but by the way we hold it in our minds. Judgment consumes mental fuel. It is not the outer event, but the inner commentary that drains you. And when your energy leaks through worry, anger, or comparison, little remains for your true work. You arrive at your craft empty, not because the task is too great, but because you have spent yourself on the irrelevant. The Stoic filters carefully what deserves attention, not from coldness, but from concentration. They understand that attention is a form of devotion, and so they guard it with care. They do not chase every feeling that stirs within, nor do they engage every opinion thrown their way. Instead, they pause, they observe, they examine. What is unworthy, they release. What is essential, they hold. Their focus is intentional, never casual. They ask, does this help me build? Does this move me toward virtue? If not, they let it go. Attention is not something you owe to the world. It is something you owe to your values. It is your most intimate resource. The direction of your attention shapes the quality of your days, and the quality of your days becomes the architecture of your life. The Stoic does not waste this resource on noise. They channel it toward clarity, toward discipline, toward becoming. Every distraction resisted is a quiet act of self-respect. Every moment of focus is a vote for who you are choosing to become. To build something lasting, a skill, a craft, a life of value, you must guard your energy as treasure. It is not only about working harder, it is about protecting the space in which clarity and creation can emerge. What you give your attention to is what you serve. If your energy is scattered, your focus hijacked, your emotions pulled by forces outside your control, you will not have the strength to build anything of depth. You will be drained, not from effort, but from division. Scatter your energy on what you cannot govern, and bitterness takes root. Resentment follows, not only toward others, but toward yourself, for having no reserves left for what truly matters. Exhaustion does not always come from labor. More often, it comes from scattering yourself across everything, reacting to everything, until nothing of substance remains. You chase storms instead of laying stones. You answer noise instead of answering your higher calling. But protect your energy, and everything changes. You grow powerful. Not the loud, performative kind that seeks recognition, but the quiet, grounded kind that holds its shape under pressure. A power that does not waver with opinions or trends, because it is not built on anything fleeting. Real strength is not in doing more. It is in doing less of what depletes, and more of what deepens. The Stoic understands this. The Stoic conserves energy through restraint, not repression. Their no is not born from scarcity, but from respect for what they are choosing to say yes to. They release what is petty so they can serve what is permanent. Their strength comes from focusing on what is essential day after day, whether anyone notices or not. They guard their hours as if they were sacred ground. They refuse to let their attention be cheapened by every passing impulse. This is the way of the Stoic builder, not frantic, but fiercely focused, calm, deliberate, disciplined. They are not trying to win a race. They are trying to endure through all seasons. They channel their limited energy not toward applause, but toward alignment. They do not build to be seen. They build to be solid, not toward everything, but toward what will matter 10 years from now, toward what holds under pressure, toward what remains true when the crowd is gone and the spotlight has moved on. That is how they endure. That is how they leave something real, something that does not beg for attention, but earns respect through its quiet, lasting presence. Begin each day with a circle of worth. Draw 2 circles. The inner one is what you control, the outer, what you do not. Place your goals within the inner circle. Whenever stress rises, ask, does it belong to the outer ring? If it does, release it. Chapter 4. The Power of Doing Without Witness. We are conditioned to believe that value must be visible, that unless someone sees it, it does not count. Recognition becomes the measure of worth, and progress feels real only when it is public. But the Stoics knew otherwise. The deepest growth often unfolds in silence. The strongest virtues are practiced in solitude. Virtue is not performance. It is practice. It is quiet. It is invisible until tested. You build in the dark what one day will be revealed in the light. And yet, The respect that may follow is not the goal. The building itself is. When you turn your focus from visibility to alignment, you discover a different strength, the kind that does not collapse when unseen, the kind that does not dissolve when praise is absent. Think of a sculptor in a quiet room, chisel meeting stone. No audience, no applause, only steady work. That is the Stoic at practice, quietly refining, resisting distraction, shaping character in silence. Every swing of the chisel is unseen by the world, yet each one matters. Every decision in solitude becomes part of the final form. The world may notice only the result, but the Stoic knows the true masterpiece is the process itself. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Not beneath a spotlight, not before a crowd, but through silent action." Silent improvement is the most authentic form. He did not seek praise. He sought peace with his principles. That was enough. Our modern world urges us to document, to share, to narrate every step of growth so that it may be applauded. The Stoic reminds us that growth does not need an audience. It only needs your commitment. The world rewards visibility, not always virtue. It pushes us to showcase progress rather than embody it. In such a landscape, silence can feel like failure, not because we aren't growing, but because no one is watching it unfold. The Stoic asks a different question. Can you train without trophies? Can you improve without announcements? Can you keep showing up, doing the work, holding to your principles, even when no one is watching? Can you build not for the gallery, but for the ground beneath your feet? Because the foundation you are building is not meant for display. It is meant to hold you, to support the weight of real life, real pressure, real uncertainty. And the truth is, most of that building happens in solitude. Quiet mornings, late nights, unseen decisions. No claps, no validation. Only you, and the standard you refuse to lower. The one who builds in silence earns a different kind of strength, not the brittle strength that feeds on applause, but the steady strength that comes from alignment. A strength that does not need defending because it was never built on approval. A strength unshakable because it was forged in the absence of praise. Strength like this is rare because it grows best in silence. It does not crumble when recognition is delayed. It does not falter when misunderstood. It deepens instead. It becomes a quiet anchor in a loud world, valid without display, meaningful without confirmation. This strength becomes its own reward. It shapes your habits, sharpens your discipline, steadies your presence when the noise inevitably returns. It gives you something rare in today's world: independence from the crowd. And what is built without needing to be seen is harder to shake, harder to break, because it is rooted in truth, not opinion. It is not fragile, because it was not made for decoration. It was made for durability. This strength is like an underground spring, quiet, unseen, yet always flowing. It carries you through rejection, through failure, through the long silent seasons when nothing around you affirms your direction. It holds you together in stretches of effort with no milestones, no recognition, only the steady rhythm of your own integrity. It is the strength to keep going, not because anyone told you that you are doing well, but because you know you are living in alignment with your values. Because you know that the quiet commitment to truth, to discipline, to principle is shaping something within you that no audience can give and no critic can take away. You don't need applause to continue. You don't need permission to keep becoming. That is Stoic power, quiet, steady, invisible to most, yet undeniable within. It is the kind of strength that does not demand to be noticed because it knows its own depth. And ironically, it is this very invisibility that makes it so powerful. It cannot be flattered into complacency. It cannot be insulted into doubt. It simply endures, unshaken by neglect, untouched by fame, rooted in a truth too deep for trend. It is immune to hype, unmoved by neglect. It grows not in the light of admiration, but in the shadows of discipline, where real transformation takes place. It stands tall in silence, nourished by self-respect and purpose, not applause. And it deepens with every unnoticed decision, every temptation resisted, every principle upheld in private. This kind of power is not fragile. It does not snap under pressure or fade under scrutiny. It expands quietly beneath the surface, steady even when the ground around it shifts. This is the strength that endures. This is what the Stoic cultivates, a resilience so deeply forged that when adversity arrives, there is no scramble, only a return to what has already been built. It is not a house of cards, but a fortress of character. Begin with one practice, one habit, one discipline. Keep it private, no posts, no announcements, no audience. Let it belong only to you, unseen, unshared, protected from the noise of other people's opinions. Practice it daily, not as performance, but as a quiet promise to your future self. Let it become an act of self-respect rather than self-promotion. A private discipline gains a different weight. It becomes intimate, even sacred. You no longer ask, will this impress? But instead, will this strengthen me? In silence, motives clarify. The work becomes honest. The roots grow deeper. And then, without declaration, the strength shows itself, not in words, but in presence. You will feel it in your steadiness, your restraint, the calm of your thoughts, the balance of your emotions. Others may not notice immediately, but you will carry the difference. Over time, the quiet accumulation becomes undeniable, not because it shouts, but because it has transformed you. This is the power of silent progress, the kind that does not beg for recognition because it is too busy becoming, the kind that works layer by layer, repetition by repetition, until one day you realize you have not merely kept a habit, you have become someone new, not in a single visible moment, but through the long, unseen labor of patience and principle. Chapter 5. The Patience of Builders. When we chase, we crave immediacy. We want proof, signs, outcomes, because we fear what stillness might reveal about our belief, our patience, our willingness to endure. But the builder accepts delay. The builder understands that what is lasting is never rushed. We learn to value the kind of progress that is invisible, the kind that unfolds quietly over time. To build something meaningful is to resist rushing. It is to trust the strength of your foundation more than the speed of your ascent. The Stoics were patient, not because they lacked ambition, but because they respected the process. They knew that what is rushed is rarely rooted. Rome was not built in a day, a cliché perhaps, but also a Stoic truth. Real progress is not simply movement forward. It is alignment with purpose. It is the willingness to return again and again to what matters most. Sometimes progress looks like refinement, sometimes like repetition, and sometimes like refusing to compromise when compromise would be easier. Plant a seed and it disappears into soil. For a time, there is nothing to show. No stem, no leaves, only silence. Yet beneath the surface, roots are forming. The Stoic honors this hidden growth. They do not panic when results are not visible. They trust the rhythm of honest labor, knowing that depth comes before height. Seneca warned us, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Much of that waste comes from abandoning the process too soon, trading the mastery of patience for the cheap reward of immediacy. We confuse urgency with purpose and end up building nothing that lasts." Building is slow. At times, it is tedious, but it is also sacred, not because it impresses others, but because it reshapes the builder. Every repetition is a brick. Every morning of effort is another stone. Every time you choose discipline over ease, truth over comfort, intention over impulse, you strengthen both the work and the one doing it. Over time, you stop chasing quick wins and begin investing in what cannot be taken from you. Those bricks become more than skill or achievement. They become a fortress of character, a structure made from honesty and repetition, able to protect your peace in storms, your purpose in uncertainty, your clarity when the world grows loud. And when storms arrive, as they always do, it will not be speed that saves you, not luck, not applause. It will be what you built when no one was watching, the hours that felt small but were not wasted, the habits you kept without recognition, the choices made in silence. That is the difference between collapsing and standing firm, between enduring and vanishing. That is the power of building instead of chasing. Adopt a builder's calendar for 30 days. Focus on consistency, not perfection. Presence, not performance. Record your progress, not to prove it to others, but to witness your own devotion. Each checkmark, each line filled in is a quiet reminder you showed up again and again. That matters. Honor the habit, not just the outcome. Praise yourself not for how far you've gone, but for how steadily you've remained. Measure your days not by achievement, but by alignment. Did you stay true to your process today? That is victory. Time will compound what effort begins. Like interest in a silent account, progress is not flashy at first, but little by little it accumulates until one day what seemed small has become unshakable. This is how builders think, not chasing intensity, but choosing consistency, not demanding results overnight, but trusting patience to do its work. Brick by brick, day by day, building begins with belief, but it survives on endurance. Anyone can start, anyone can dream, anyone can plan when clarity is fresh. The real test comes later, when the excitement has faded, when the work is ordinary, repetitive, quiet. It is there that strength is forged or surrendered. The Stoics understood that momentum is not mere movement. It is the discipline to continue when the spark is gone. Greatness is rarely the product of dramatic leaps or sudden breakthroughs. It is made of faithful steps repeated in obscurity. It is born in the quiet decision to keep going when no one is watching. The Stoic does not wait for passion to dictate action. They lean on principle. They ask not, "Do I feel like it?" but "Is it right to show up regardless?" This endurance is not glamorous. It will feel like invisibility. It will feel like routine. It will feel like questioning your progress when no dramatic signs appear. But slowly, something deeper takes root. Stability, clarity, grit. You stop asking if it's working and begin to see that you are changing. The effort no one noticed becomes the very foundation others one day admire. By staying with the process, you are not just building habits, you are shaping character. You are proving through action that you can be trusted with responsibility, with challenge, with success. This is not about bursts of willpower. It is about quiet commitment, showing up when it is dull, staying steady when it is inconvenient, remaining faithful when it feels invisible. Because true transformation does not live in the dramatic. It lives in the quiet stretches where most people give up. The rewards may be slow, but they are lasting. What is built with patience endures when inspiration fades. Inspiration is fleeting. Integrity is renewable. When you build from that place, you are not just constructing routines. You are creating a foundation capable of withstanding stress, failure, and even success. Build the endurance to keep building, not through force, but through devotion. Devotion to your future self. Devotion to your principles. Devotion to a life that does not require an audience to feel whole. Not through hype, but through habit. Because habit is what remains when excitement fades. That is when the real building begins. Endurance is quiet faith. Faith that your effort matters even when no one notices. Faith that the seeds you planted are growing roots even if the soil appears unchanged. Faith that your consistent work, compounded over time, will create a strength no shortcut could replace. That faith is not loud. It does not boast. It does not seek approval. It simply stays. It endures. Trust that all things of true value are born in the quiet. Let the days accumulate. Let consistency become your confidence. Let discipline speak louder than doubt. And when you look back, it will not be the bursts of effort that shaped you. It will be the fact that you never stopped showing up. Especially when it would have been easier to stop. That is the difference between the chaser and the builder. One needs the world's attention to feel worthy. The other simply keeps laying bricks. Chapter 7. The Stillness Between Steps. There is a form of building that does not require constant motion. It requires the discipline to remain still. The Stoics understood that clarity often comes not from action, but from restraint. In a world that glorifies endless movement, choosing not to react is mastery. Choosing not to rush is strength. Stillness is not the absence of progress. It is presence with purpose. It is the deliberate pause between steps, the breath before the decision, the quiet before the answer. It is the refusal to let urgency dictate direction. When you are still, what the rush would have hidden becomes visible. Thought becomes clear. Action becomes intentional. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Improvement is slow, internal, invisible to those who only notice motion. Stillness may invite misunderstanding, but it also invites mastery. When you embrace stillness, you hear your own voice again. Not the noise of comparison, not the fear of falling behind, not the echoes of what others expect. Instead, you feel the calm, steady reminder of your values, of who you are without pressure or pretense. Stillness allows your true priorities to surface. You begin to distinguish what is urgent from what is important, what merely feels productive from what is meaningful. You learn the difference between momentum and madness, between movement with direction and motion that only distracts from the work that matters, between doing something significant and staying busy to avoid sitting with yourself. Stillness reveals the truth, and while that truth can be uncomfortable, it is also freeing. It gives you the power to realign. Every builder must learn when to move and when to pause. The pause is not weakness. It is strategy. It is the breath that keeps your pace sustainable, the moment when emotion settles and clarity returns. The pause is where intention is set, where patience is restored, where clarity sharpens. Without it, action becomes blind. Chasing returns. Noise resumes. The mind clutters. The hands fidget. With stillness, you do more than build. You build wisely. You act with precision, not pressure. Stillness is how the Stoic regains sovereignty over the mind. It is the ground where impulse is tempered and wisdom invited to speak. It is how they assess the terrain before moving. They do not leap blindly. They observe, they study, they center themselves. It is how they resist being swept away by the current of chaos, by the world that urges haste. Stillness is their anchor when distraction rises. It is not wasted time. It is the sharpening of the blade before it is needed, the gathering of internal strength, the deepening of mental clarity, the return to principles before returning to action. In this pause, strategy and soul align. Let your progress breathe. Make space a deliberate part of the process. Let silence teach what noise cannot. Let rest be intentional, reflection purposeful. Stillness is not a detour. It is part of the map. It helps you track where you've been, sense where you are, and see where you are going with clarity that motion alone cannot provide. Allow moments where you are not trying to achieve, but simply listening to yourself, to the truth, to the next right step. These moments act like tuning forks for the soul, aligning your next action with your highest values. Let your next step arise from reflection, not reaction. Let it be born from clarity, not pressure. Let it echo purpose, not panic. This is what the Stoic does. They do not waste stillness. They do not fill every moment with motion or measure value only by output. They wield stillness like a craftsman wields a tool, deliberately, thoughtfully, with quiet strength. They understand that the build is not ensured by hammering alone, but by measure, precision, and intention behind each stroke. It is the silence between actions that preserves the rhythm of mastery. The Stoic builder does not merely move forward. They move with purpose. That makes all the difference. Chapter 8. Win in private first. Before anything great appears in the world, it must first be built within. The Stoics taught that no external success is secure if it was not earned internally first. You must win the inner battle, the war against distraction, fear, and the impulse to quit, before any outer achievement can be meaningful. Winning in private means choosing discipline when no one applauds. It means showing up with integrity, in quiet spaces where effort is invisible, unrewarded, and unrecognized. It is the silent satisfaction of honoring your word to yourself. It is the strength to remain consistent without an audience, without promise of reward. When temptation to cut corners arises, or when progress feels slow and thankless, winning in private is staying loyal to your own standard. This kind of victory is not glamorous. It does not trend. It does not sparkle. Yet it is what makes everything else possible. Without it, the pressure of the world will expose the hollow places masked by ambition. Every crack in character becomes visible when challenge appears. You cannot take what has not been formed in silence. The Stoic builder invests in the foundation first. They do not rush toward results or chase applause. They work beneath the surface, shaping thought, refining reaction, mastering responses to discomfort. They understand that all strength begins within. A scattered private self leads to a fractured public life. So they invest where no one is watching, in their thinking, preparation, and ability to face difficulty with calm. They refine their values without clapping. They rehearse resilience in moments no one will remember. This quiet strength cultivates a confidence that does not falter when praise fades. A confidence that does not waver under criticism. Because it was built in solitude, it carries its own weight. It stands not because others recognize it, but because it knows its origin. This is the power the Stoic seeks, not to surpass others, but to remain steady within themselves. Not to impress, but to be prepared, not to shine, but to endure. Begin where no one sees. Strengthen the core, not for recognition but for resilience. Attend to the quiet hours, the early mornings, the undisturbed evenings, the overlooked moments in between. When discipline is forged in silence, let those private victories accumulate. Each unnoticed effort becomes a thread in the fabric of your steady self. Become someone your future self can rely on, not just when it is easy, but when everything is on the line. Be the one who keeps going when praise stops. Be the one who does what is right even if no one ever knows. These quiet commitments shape your character. They hold firm when the noise rises, when challenge comes, when fear tries to intrude. If you win in private, the world's disruptions cannot shake you. If you build depth in silence, the clamor of others loses its sway. You stop needing to be seen to feel solid. You stop needing applause to maintain momentum. And in that quiet, removed from distraction, removed from performance, real greatness begins to take root. Not the kind that dazzles, but the kind that endures. The kind that does not require a stage because it was built to stand, no matter who is watching. Chapter 9. The weight of what you carry. Every builder carries something. Doubt, regret, expectation, fear. These invisible burdens shape the way we move, the way we build, and the way we perceive ourselves. They settle quietly into thought, influencing how we show up, not just in work, but in relationships, goals, and internal dialogue. The Stoics did not deny these burdens. They did not claim immunity, but they taught examination, reflection, and choice. Hold your weights up to the light. Ask what to keep and what to release, not from avoidance, but from wisdom. You cannot build freely while carrying what should have been set down long ago. Old wounds whisper false stories. Comparisons steal focus and shrink gratitude. These weights do more than distract. They distort, cloud judgment, slow progress. The Stoic turns toward these things with honesty. They sit with discomfort long enough to understand it. They ask, is this weight mine to carry? Does it help me move forward or anchor me to the past? Is this heaviness a teacher or just habit? Some burdens are chosen intentionally: responsibility, integrity, discipline. These shape character, build strength, and are carried with clarity. Others are distractions in disguise, guilt that no longer serves, perfectionism masquerading as excellence, shame mistaken for accountability. The Stoic discerns the difference through reflection, journaling, and stillness. They do not numb. They do not ignore. They do not outsource the work of the mind and heart to others. They face what weighs on them, sort it, and let go. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Clarity brings lightness. And with clarity, you do more than move. You move deliberately. You move with less friction, placing each brick with precision. You act with presence, with steadiness, with quiet confidence. You build with fewer doubts in your hands and more intention in your heart. The lighter your mind, the steadier your effort. You are no longer dragging past regrets into the future you are trying to create. To build well, you must clear what clouds you. Release the burdens that were never yours to bear. Question the stories you accepted out of fear, not truth. Free yourself from internal chaos so your external work can take shape with ease. You are not just constructing a craft, a career, or a legacy. You are also rebuilding and refining the structure within yourself. That inner foundation will either support your rise or falter under pressure. Choose carefully what you carry. Chapter 10. The life that builds itself. There comes a point where building becomes less about constant effort and more about rhythm. The habits you've formed, the standards you've upheld, the choices you've repeated, they begin to cohere into a system, a structure, a life that builds itself. The Stoic understood that momentum grounded in values becomes identity. At first, effort feels forced, deliberate, even exhausting. But with time, sincerity, and repetition, these actions begin to flow naturally. They arise from the foundation you have laid. Your routines stop being mere discipline. They become devotion. Your boundaries are no longer resistance. They are clarity. They signal what you protect because you know what truly matters. The builder becomes the structure. The process becomes the person. The work becomes the way. Life does not necessarily become easy, but it becomes aligned. There is a difference. You may still stumble, but you fall into form rather than chaos. You may bend under pressure, but you no longer break. You still face struggle, but struggle shapes you instead of breaking you. Difficulty is no longer a roadblock. It is part of the craft. Your effort is no longer performative. It is a mirror of who you are. Your work is no longer something you simply do. It is something that reveals you. The Stoic way is to build a life so anchored in principle that it begins to sustain itself. You do not need to deliberate over every choice because your values speak first. Like a well-tuned instrument, you require less adjustment. Like a clear path, you need less clearing. You no longer remind yourself of who you want to be. Repetition, patience, and quiet discipline have made it part of you. You do not chase alignment. You inhabit it. This is the true reward, not fame, not applause, not recognition, but wholeness. The peace of knowing you have constructed something real, inside and out. Something that cannot be taken by opinion or undone by failure. Let others chase, you build. Let others wander, you walk. Let others perform, you practice. And in that quiet, unseen practice, you forge a strength that cannot be faked. When you look back, the result is not just what you have created, but who you have become. The quiet integrity you carried when no one was watching. The choices made from conviction, not convenience. Not the titles, but the principles. Not the trophies, but the character. The resilience nurtured in silence, the self-respect rebuilt through consistent action, the calm preserved in the middle of storms. These are the true artifacts of your journey. You will realize that what endures is not fleeting recognition or passing winds, but the foundation you laid with steady hands. The strength you built was never about impressing others. It was about becoming unshakable. That is the life that builds itself, not driven by the need to prove, but by devotion to grow. A life where results follow roots. A life of substance built patiently, lived fully,